Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. We're going to call to order this meeting of the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors. Today is May 17th, 2022, and we're starting late here. It's about 6:38 here. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I've asked you to please remain standing for our invocation by Pastor Lance Lowell from the Neighborhood Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer? Lord, we thank you for this community that we get the privilege to live in, and with the community members that we get a chance to live life with. We thank you for these leaders, for the work and sacrifice that they make, Lord, to make our community what it is. Give them wisdom, God, for all the details that they will cover tonight. Lord, as we are quickly approaching Memorial Day, Lord, we are reminded that the great freedom that we have, Lord God, came at a very high price. Lord, as we live with each other and as we face different challenges, even disagreements, Lord, help us value one another, every one of us, Lord, the way that we were valued by those who gave their lives for us. We love you, we thank you, and I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Lance. Okay, we're going to just have a quick announcement here with regard to an item too late for the agenda.
Thank you very much, Chairman Withrow, and welcome everyone here. I just wanted to announce to the board members and everyone else who's in attendance this evening, we did have one item that came to our attention after the posting of this agenda item. It is a technical issue related to the County Benefits Administration Program, so I'll be presenting that item a little bit later after the consent item is considered this evening. And I just wanted to make sure the audience was aware there was one more item that will be presented, and it's regarding benefits administration here at the county. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Jody. Okay, we're going to move on to start off with item 4.1, which is our presentations, and we will start with our accommodations for our 2022 Stanislaus County Outstanding Senior Citizens. And Lillian is going to start that off. Lillian, good evening. How are you?
Fine.
I'm going to have you grab that mic, put it right over in the front of you there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Withrow, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Bowes. My name is Lil Castellano. I'm the president of the Commission on Aging, excuse me, for Stanislaus County. It is my honor this evening to introduce the 2022 Stanislaus County Outstanding Senior Citizens. The month of May is officially recognized as Older Americans Month throughout the nation, and older adults around the nation are being recognized for their contributions to our country. Stanislaus County joins with communities nationwide in celebrating this month. Tonight, the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors are recognized 5 senior citizens from each of the 5 districts for outstanding volunteer work in their respective communities. Through their volunteer work, they have the quality of life for all county residents. On behalf of the Stanislaus County Commission on Aging, I thank these outstanding senior citizens for their contributions. They are truly an inspiration to all of us. So the first one will be District 1, Supervisor Buck Condit, Mrs. Jane Shaw.
This is a little intimidating.
So Mrs. Jane Shaw joined the Health Aging Association Young at Heart training in 2017 and became a volunteer instructor within 6 months. She has a strong encourager for older adults who are interested in intervention shown to reduce the risk of falling through physical fitness designed for older adults. Mrs. Shaw quickly transitioned from teaching in-person classes to teaching online during the pandemic. Previously, she instructed the Matter of Balance class 3 years, which helps older adults increase physical activity level, reduces their fear of falling through education. Jane has been involved in serving on missions to other countries, beginning with mission trips to Ensenada, Mexico as a teenager. Make sure I'm losing my place here. She also has been to the Dominican Republic in 2006, serving children and noting how grateful and joyful those who had little in their way of material belongings. She continues with mission support with emphasis in Guadalajara, Mexico. Great job.
Thank you.
Mrs. Shaw serves her church through leading Bible classes and starting a book club, and her husband, Herb. Herb, where are you at? They've been married 44 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also serve the church through preparing communion each month together. Jane brought Cleansing Hope Shower Shuttle project to the attention of her church members, and they raised $1,100 in just 2 weeks to help the homeless.
Pretty amazing.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely great. And I love this. She's a retired respiratory therapist. My wife is a respiratory therapist.
Oh!
Yeah, and you probably instructed her at some point.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, love that. So she's been able to bring that whole health to senior citizens throughout Stanislaus County during her service. And the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors would like to congratulate you on being the outstanding senior citizen for District 1.
Thank you. I just have a couple words to say, and I know my family will be just going, whatever, you know, because I usually can talk and talk. But I really am honored and just humbled by this. I had a really hard time accepting this award because I didn't do it for awards. You know, I've always had the thought in my head, you work as if working for the Lord. You do the best you can, you give it all. And I love working with seniors. I got to tell you, they are the best people on earth. We have the greatest time in my class. And I'm so grateful that my family is here, my husband, some really good friends are here. I'm just very, very grateful and thankful for being nominated for this award and being accepted as the District 1 Volunteer of the Year. Like I said, I'm very humbled. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all yours. Congratulations.
Okay, the next one will be District 2. Supervisor, Mr. Jeff Lorenzi.
So, Jane, when you walked up here, you had said about being intimidated. How can you be intimidated when we have a karaoke machine up here? Really? The clerk said, don't you say anything about that. What do we do, kids, when someone says, don't touch that? We touch it, right? So the intimidation comes from us because this is the greatest generation. That's why we're here celebrating all these accomplishments. I always think of this night as we're with giants. And we've talked about many times about the sacrifice of the generations before us. Everything gets a little bit easier. And I am a part of the baby boomers. I'm the last year of the baby boomers, so I guess I'm considered old. So when I looked at my senior who was representing District 2, Jeff, I said, I know Jeff. And once maybe every 5 years you know the person pretty intimately. And I actually thought he was about my age. This is a true story. I walked up to him and I asked him the rude question, how old are you? because I didn't know if he was eligible. So he's just young at heart. He is a little bit older than me. But anyways, it is with great pleasure. You know, I think Buck talks about this. All of these things that are accomplished, it's really for the betterment of the community. We're lucky. We are, and when I say we, I talk collectively of the board, how lucky we are that there are people in this community who care enough to volunteer their time and make a difference. So, and Jeff will be no exception. So Jeff, a few years ago, heeded the call. He read an article in the Modesto Bee, and they needed drivers for United Samaritan Foundation, and that was in 2020. Due to the pandemic, they'd lost a lot of their volunteers, and so he saw a great need, and he decided to volunteer. Mr. Lorenzi started preparing meals and soon began driving a delivery meal truck to Ceres and Keys, making 14 stops and serving up to 325 meals a day. Truly. So Jeff is a hard worker, and I get all these things. I know him, so I know he's a hard worker, but it's important that everyone else understand when you listen to the accomplishments and what he's willing to sacrifice of his own time and his family's time, it really stands out. But he's gone above and beyond in order, he loads the trucks, he readies for distribution, he distributes the meal. Michelle Allen, who he works with, she was quoted as saying, she nominated Mr. Lorenzi. She noted he will jump in to make lunches, box up the food. He'll even clean the kitchen without hesitation as needed, as he is the ultimate team player. She said his welcoming and friendly personality puts all the other volunteers at ease. And really, that's encompassing, you're bringing more people in to help out. Whereas Mr. Lorenzi and his wife of 30 years, Maria, and I just met Maria right here. Raise your hand, Maria. You can. We know behind every good man, there's a much better woman. He admits it. So he's volunteered at Turlock Together for over 17 years. Each December, the project delivers food boxes and others to those in need. In Turlock, Mr. Lorenzi became the co-chair lead coordinator of volunteers 7 years ago. He coordinates, does the collections, packing, distribution of the annual Christmas food boxes. He also belongs to the Knights of Columbus, and through the All Saints Parish for the last 15 years. As part of the group, he's participated in many fundraising events and community outreach projects. He is also, I think this is the most important thing, he is also a graduate of the greatest university in the United States, California Polytechnic State University. Go Mustangs. I think that's how we originally had met. But it's just a great accomplishment. Again, there are certain nights or certain meetings that we really love. Tonight you'll see the young folks and then the seniors that we're honoring here today. It makes for great theater for us because a lot of times what we do is either not sexy or it's just not that fun. And tonight is a fun night to congratulate those who have done so much. I walk in and Ray's sitting here, who's an honoree tonight. He feeds me every time I give blood. Not every time, but sometimes. And he's trying to convince me to work at the blood bank when I retire in 15 years. So Jeff, on behalf of the board, I am so appreciative for everything you've done and continue to do. Obviously, you're going to continue to do it. And I'm going to give you the microphone before you take any pictures.
Well, I'd just like to thank the good Lord for giving me the opportunity to be able to go out and serve the community and help those in need. And actually thank Linda for letting me come down and humor her and everybody else with it. So anyhow, again, thank you.
Yep.
My official one for the Facebook. Thank you.
Okay, That one will be District 4 Supervisor Grewal, Mrs. Jenny Canoia.
Skipped over. Jenny, please. I can come here.
You want to stay here or you want to walk here?
All right, deep breath, Graywall. You're introducing a legend here. Talk about intimidating. Yeah. I'm going to put down my notes. No notes needed here. I've known Jenny for many, many years. I got the privilege and honor of serving with her on the Modesto City Council. And I remember one time I was sitting in a group of young children, and there was a question asked to me about being in elected office and who inspired me in elected office. And you can always say big names and things, but I didn't even have to think about it. It was a 3-second answer, and it was Jenny Canoia. Jenny is a true inspiration. I mean, she is somebody that you look at and it just exudes energy. You just don't make excuses around Jenny Canoia. Yeah. If you yawn in closed session, she gives you that look and just makes you feel really, really think very little of yourself, because she is somebody that doesn't stop. I mean, she ran for elected office when she was 76 years old. When other people just say, why me? Why do I need to get involved? You know, I'm enjoying my golden years. That's when she ran for elected office. And she won when she was 78. And she's serving her, and she did an extra year, Jenny. So you got extra credit. You did 9 years on the city council. She's one of the most tenacious human beings I have ever met. I would come in sometimes after hours, after a meeting, and come up, and I would still see Jenny's car down in the basement. That's when you drove was it the Cruiser? The Cruiser, yeah. And so that also spoke a lot about Jenny. She drove a PT Cruiser. And she was the most well-read council member, knew the agenda like the back of her hand, and she would correct you on the spot if you took a misstep, because she knew exactly what she was talking about. So I'm just honored, and this is going to be something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, that I had the privilege of serving alongside Jenny Canoia. So now I'm going to read all the official accolades and things, and it's a long list. Luckily, there's no time limit today, because this is a long list. So Mrs. Jenny Canoia's photo can be found on the new Stanislaus Regional Transit Authority S-Bus named the Jenny. Has a nice little picture of Jenny on it, and it's in honor of her tireless dedication to transportation for older adults. She was your biggest advocate. She was your biggest advocate and all of your biggest advocates, because the things that she's done in an elected office is going to transcend generations. For older adults, individuals with disabilities since 2008. Then, Ms. Jenny Canoia awarded the 2022 CALAC Distinguished Service Award for her contributions to public transportation as a decision maker and elected official in the advancement of public transportation. And she was the one that helped consolidate our transportation authority into STAN RTA. Jenny, I know you're giving me that look. I'm reading the notes as best as they gave me. If I go wrong, just let me know. Jenny Canoia helped build the Bridges program for door-to-door transportation for adults, disabled individuals, advocated for 2 years for the program until it was established in 2010. And that's another trait of Jenny Canoia. She does not give up. If she starts on a project or she starts on something that she feels or believes in, she's going to see it come to fruition. She served as the chair of MOVE, and as I said earlier, she campaigned for a seat on the Modesto City Council for the first time at the tender age of 76. And at 78, she won, and she's been on the councils for 8 years, finishing her 9th year. In 2010, she was in the creation of the local Stanislaus County Access Center to create low barrier access for those seeking service. I know that was one of her staple projects to make sure everybody had a place to stay during the day and helping our homeless population. And her giving heart comes not just because of elected official, but what she's done her entire life, which was being a registered nurse for 48 years. Her and her late husband, Pat, volunteered with the local PTA and booster clubs for 14 years, and her proudest accomplishment, and I know that because Jenny would always pull me to the side and tell me what her granddaughter's doing, what her great-grandsons or grandchildren are doing, and her children. So her proudest accomplishment, her 5 children, proud grandmother of 8, and great-grandmother of 1. And this one, I never forget this one. I tell people behind your back about this one, Jenny. Mrs. Jenny Canoyer became the first ever female Yell leader at Modesto High in 1953. And like I said, she was tenacious. During the spring of her senior year, and I could just picture Jenny doing that, going up to the principal and petitioning him and saying, I want the right to join the Yell team. I could see you doing that, Jenny. And at that time, it was a male-dominated sport. So Jenny, if you're up for it, since I've seen you do it many times, I would love to assist you in the cheer, because I remember it, right? It's ready to go?
M-O-D-E-S-T-O.
Modesto, Modesto, Modesto. And there you have it, Mrs. Modesto, Jenny Canoyer.
He thought he could get away with taking the mic away from an elected official. Really, Manny. No, I just have a couple of things to say. I'm just humbled by all the accolades I've received. This is because of allergies. But anyway, if it wasn't for all the wonderful people, the staff at the city of Modesto, the people that the Board of Supervisors that work behind to help get these things done, I'd have never got them done. One person cannot do it. But sometimes it takes one person to keep prodding them. So thank you very much. I'm honored. I just can't tell you, I'm really super humbled. Like someone said before me, I did not do this to be honored. I did this because I love Modesto, and Modesto is so important to me. And thank you so much.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I can say it's my allergy.
Yeah. Hard act to follow, District 3.
Okay, yes, for District 3, Supervisor Withrow, Mr. Raymond Arthur Dipper.
Thank you. So this has been great. Like we said, this is such a big night for us to do this. And Vito talked about our karaoke. We didn't tell him that we're going to have the Italians sing "That's Amore" later on. Because that's what it is today. It's all about love and how much love we have for all of you guys. Really are, the greatest generation that we have here, as Vito said. It really is. And it's such high standards you set for all of us to have to live up to. I'm spending a lot of time knocking on doors lately, and I'll tell you, I do just what I'm not supposed to. You get to a door where I meet individuals like you guys here, and you're supposed to go as quick as you can so you can get to as many doors as possible. But I'll sit for half an hour just to hear life stories of people just like you. It's inspiring. It's unbelievable how inspiring it is that what you guys have done. So anyway, for me tonight for District 3, Mr. Raymond Nipper, and it's an honor to be here before you and to present this award to you. I've got a list of things here that I'm going to talk about that you've done, and let me just start off with you served in the U.S. Army at Tripler Army Medical Center as a psychiatric technician from 1962 to 65, and you earned the rank of E5 Sergeant. And this is where you met your wife, and it was Wendy. Where is Wendy? There is Wendy. She was not a patient, right? But that's good to know. But maybe after a lot of time with you, maybe she needed some. But we're gonna, and you guys have been married for 56 years. So 56 years, congratulations. This is great. So just a lot of the work you've done, you've supported the Society for the Disabilities by recycling medical equipment that you purchase at estate and garage sales and deliver these items to the Society's loan closet.
Actually, Terry, I don't purchase them. They very graciously give them to me. They see my face and they know me. And I say, "What do you have?" And they say, "Go take it."
That's great. So you cut into the profits of these poor people with these garage sales. But it's a great cause, so very good. Sorry, as an accountant, that's what I think of right away. There goes, cuts into their margins. Well, that's great. You've served on the board and a past president of the Howard Training Center, which focuses on training and tailored programs for adults with development disabilities. You've received the Humanitarian Award for Humanitarian Service to Persons with Disabilities in 1992 for your support of the Howard Training Center and their food service training program there. You've donated, and this is where Vito talked about, that you've donated over 16 gallons of blood to Delta Blood Bank and the American Red Cross. Beginning in the 1980s, in 2004, you began volunteering at the canteen and increased your service to 2 days a week during the pandemic. So that's where you cross paths with our Italian supervisor over here. I'm sure, I think he does it probably more than anybody, probably. So, is that what it is? Every 56 days. Very good. So you've served 3 terms as past president of the Modesto Breakfast Lions Club during your 25-year membership. In conjunction with his Lions Club membership, Mr. Nipper received the Melvin Jones Award, which is the highest humanitarian fellowship award from the Lions Club. That's pretty impressive. As a member of the Sylvan Improvement Club since 2003, you've spent countless hours on the annual Salvation Army fundraising dinners and work projects to improve, beautify, and preserve the Virginia corridor. A beautiful area there. And that's just great service out there. You've collected donated food from local grocery stores for the Interfaith Ministries Food Bank since 2004, and served on the board of the Tully Manor Homeowners Association since 2010 to help maintain the neighborhood community in unity and organizing the National Night Out event, plus provide safety information for use of the community pool. So I'm going to let you talk in just a second here. But again, it's just an honor to be a part of this with all of you here tonight. It really is. And it's so hard because it's like such a high bar, like we say, for all of us, at our age, to try to get to what you guys have achieved. But it's great to have the kids here tonight. And there's so much that they can learn from what you have done, what all of you have done in your lives. And it's just been a life of service. And we see what's always, I always say this, that what we suffer from so much is apathy out there in our country anymore. We get to where we just don't get involved and we just sit back. But we need to learn from your generation, because if we don't, we won't have the ability to get involved someday. And so it's all the hard work and all the efforts and all the sacrifice and time away from your wife and family, for the good of others, is just what we've got to get back to in this country. So it's an honor to be able to recognize you as the outstanding senior citizen this year for District 3, and I'm going to let you talk now.
Someone set a timer.
My daughter said someone set a timer. I understand that this meeting doesn't go very long, right? Now, these are all nice compliments to me. I just believe in getting out and doing for other people, whatever it happens to be. If I can do it, I'll do it. And they mentioned the one thing about the handicap equipment. I just go to these estate sales, and if they've got handicap equipment of any type, they give it to me, and I deliver it down to the Society for Disability. It's not a big deal. For me, it's not a big deal. For them, maybe it is. But I want to thank my wife for pushing me to do those kinds of things. She likes to have me out of the house at times. I want to thank my daughter for nominating me for this auspicious award. It flabbergasted me. But I appreciate that, Lori.
You're welcome.
It's really, and I've got company, my family's here, there are friends here. It's just never in my wildest dream would I have ever thought something like this would happen. So for all of you being here, we appreciate you and the work that you do. And for you young folks over here, think about what these old folks have done. And they are old, by the way. I'm not sure how old they are, but I know how old I am, and I'm old. So think about what we have done, and aim for you to do something of that sort at your age, whatever you can do, even as young as you are. Thank you all for being here.
Take our pictures.
Yes, of course, smile. Thank you.
Okay, the next one will be District 5 Supervisor Chance Conduct, Mrs. Rosalie Hurst.
I have the distinct honor and privilege tonight to recognize a pillar in our community in District 5, Mrs. Rosalie Hurst. Rosalie, in a way, is my measuring stick of how active I am in the community. If I could do half of what Rosalie does, I know I'm doing a pretty good job. So, and honestly, reading your bio, I think this is about a quarter of what you really do. I understand we can only do one resolution, only fit it on so much space. But I do want to just read over some of your accomplishments and then give you opportunity to speak. Mrs. Rosalie Hurst has been the coordinator of the Reefs Across America project since 2018 in Newman. The project follows along with the mission of National Reefs Across America each December to remember, honor, and teach about those who lost their lives serving in the United States of America military, and is modeled after the cemetery at Arlington National Cemetery. Mrs. Hurst coordinates the ceremonies, donations, and a goal of laying 900 wreaths at the Hills Ferry Cemetery in Newman annually. Mrs. Hurst was instrumental in the project landing in Newman. Mrs. Rosalie Hurst began teaching at MJC in 1990 and created the Red Nations Club to honor Native Americans, from which she developed the annual powwow in 1995, which existed for 17 years under her direction. She also serves as a trustee for the Newman Crows Landing School District and has been serving since 2007. Ms. Rosalie Hurst started the local Trunk or Treat event in Newman. The event was attended by over 2,000 people in 2018 and 2019, and we look forward to that event continuing. She has also been a long-term member of the Newman chapter of the Lions Club and served as the president for several years, which I'm also a fellow Lion, so it's good to have Lions members here tonight. And then, which I have experienced with Ms. Hurst, she has served the senior meals program in Newman, going door to door, delivering meals to homebound seniors, and giving them company and comfort throughout the pandemic. And I just know that makes quite a difference in those seniors' lives, and I do appreciate you for it. And then recently, in 2022, Ms. Hurst received certification as a lay pastor with the Covenant Order of Evangelical Presbyterians after getting a call from the Lord to serve and do His work, and we appreciate you for that. And so, Ms. Hurst, it's an honor to recognize you tonight, and thank you for everything you do for District 5 and in Newman.
Please introduce your guest as well.
Yes. Okay, one of my guests is my son with the camera back there, so that the other son can see this, and then my Ben, and then my husband Bill, and he's in the front row here, and then of course my current boss, Pastor Grant Goebel, and his lovely bride, Terry Goebel. So those are my guests for this evening. We have made certain that in our church we have taught that each of us are given gifts. And those gifts are things that you should share. And God gave me the gift of loving people, of teaching, and my dad was a DI in the Army, okay? So I was raised by him, and he always told me that it doesn't matter what job you're doing, you do it to your very best. And so I have tried to strive to do that. And I am so proud of the people that I've met. I mean, just feeding the seniors and going door to door. For us who were in the program, we were the only people during the pandemic that many of those people saw. And so we tried to spend a few minutes. We didn't have much time, but we tried to spend a few minutes. And so I really, really fell in love with those people, okay? So of course, I have my speech here. Okay, actually, my husband said, or Kim or someone said it's going to kind of roll out, but it's not. It's Psalm 32:8. I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go, and I will guide thee with mine eyes. And He guides us. And for you little ones, He's going to guide you so that you can do things. Now, what I need to say to Chance, though, Supervisor Chance, is the fact that I'm only 50, so I don't know why I'm up here. Okay, I have no idea why I'm up here. Anyway, no, I was sharing with my son that my husband and I in a year will be three-fourths of a century old. So you guys can figure that out, okay? So And listening to the people who won the awards, I mean, I just praise you, all of you, and I thank you, and I thank you. Thank you very much.
They're funny, too.
Well, that's it. I want to thank you all for helping us honor these beautiful seniors, and hopefully, we'll see all of you next May. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. If I could, just real quick before everybody leaves, I just want to recognize Margie Palomino. If you could stand up for a second. She's our Director of our Veterans and Aging Services. And Margie, thank you for all you do for the community, too. Okay, very good. Thank you all, and congratulations, everybody. Okay, we are going to now move on to our next presentation. It's recognition of the 2022 Stanislaus County Recycling Poster Contest winners. And Janice is going to lead us in that. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman Withrow, members of the board, County Council Bose, and CEO Hayes. Janice McClendon, Department of Environmental Resources. Tonight, I am here to present the winners of the 2022 Recycling Poster Contest. It's been a couple of years since we've been here, so it's nice to be back. Anyway, these winning posters will be featured in the 2023 Recycling Poster Contest. For the new supervisors, over 33 schools participate in this contest, and this year we received over 300 posters. So you can imagine how difficult it is to vote for only 3 in each category. You would be amazed at the artwork that we receive from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. So to get started, let me start introducing you to the winners. For the category kindergarten through 1st grade, for 3rd place, we have Daniela Ruvacaba. Come on up, Daniela. And for 2nd place, for 1st grade, we have Aiden Quiros, but I don't think Aiden's here. So, no, he wasn't able to make it. So I'll keep his award for him. And in 1st place, for 1st grade, we have Emiliano Miranda. Come on up, Emiliano. That's your poster up there. Stand right there. There you go. Thank you. Okay, for the category for 2nd and 3rd grade, for 3rd place, we have Hannah Balancio from, and I don't think Hannah is here. No? Okay, so I'll put her award aside. And for 2nd place, for the 3rd grade, Melissa Gonzalez. I don't think my 2nd and 3rd graders made it here tonight.
Okay.
And 1st place is Johnny Hernandez. Okay, well, I'll present their awards to them in class when I see them. For the category for 4th through 5th grade, in 3rd place, we have Christian Mendoza. Come on up, Christian. And in 2nd place, we have Yuritsa Mondragon. Come on up, Yuritsa. Congratulations. For 1st place in the 4th through 5th grade, we have Gabrielle Martinez. Okay, and for the last category, for 6th to 8th grade, in 3rd place, we have Abigail Munoz, and I don't think Abigail is here either, so I will put hers aside. And for 2nd place, for 7th grade, we have Emily Van Galen. Congratulations, Emily. And last but not least, for the 1st place for the 6th to 8th grade, who won 1st place last year also, we have Eric Bobadilla. These are the winners of the 2022 Recycling Poster Contest. Closer?
Terry, say something about
So
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you guys all so much. Unbelievable drawings here. When I look at those, it's just, it's embarrassing. And we were drawing stick people at that age, and you guys, your artwork is just beautiful. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody go home and do their homework now. Okay. All right. Very good. Good way to start the meeting there. Okay, we're going to move on now to public comment. This is a period of time when anybody can come up and speak about any item that is not on the agenda, and we have 5 minutes to do that. So I have a couple speaker cards, and then if you didn't fill out a speaker card, you can come up too. But we're going to start off with Joni. Joni Griep, come on up. Joni, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well. What an amazing evening. I feel like I'm coming in as a wet blanket that you guys just
okay.
won't be able to shed, but I'm persistent like that. So.
Okay.
I want to start out by publicly thanking you for standing up on behalf of our children and for your unity and your courage in opposing SB 871 on our behalf. On behalf of the 8 out of 10 elementary students in our county who are still not vaccinated and would have been forced out of their classrooms. We have such a diverse community. We all come from different backgrounds. We all hold different personal opinions on policies and politics, but what should always unify us is our children. I think we all agree they are our most precious resource, our most important work. They are our future. And while you may feel this isn't always the right podium to bring my grievances to in regards to our kids, and you may argue that you don't have the jurisdiction that our County Office of Education has, I'm here to remind you that as you continue to lead our county as our highest governing board, our children and their lives are directly impacted by your choices, your decisions, and the way you lead our county. So I want to remind you of this. Our local Office of Public Health answers to you. And though I recognize that public health is not any of your areas of expertise and that you rely on their experience and their knowledge base, I am asking you to reflect on all that public health has gotten wrong in our state these last 2 years. To consider all the harm and all the burden that was placed on our children in particular and our public school systems, and to find resolve in your own hearts to say, never again. Never again will we allow our children or our public schools to be used as political pawns. Never again will we allow a single department of government to dictate rules that hurt our businesses, our churches, our schools, our families, and our children with unchecked, unrestricted power. Never again will we abdicate our responsibility to protect our children from government overreach that strips them of the ability to live free, full, healthy lives that are crucial to their health, growth, development, and their mental well-being. Our children are still experiencing a mental health emergency. In 2020, ER visits for suicide attempts in 12 to 17-year-olds went up 40%. And for our teens, suicide is still the second leading cause of death and still stands far above and shatters their statistical risk of death from any infectious disease, including COVID. Now our state assembly, our state Senate passed SB 866, a bill that will lower the age of consent from 18 to 12 for our children to receive any and all vaccinations without any parental knowledge or consent. This bill will now be heard in the assembly before becoming law. Once again, I'm asking you to stand up for our children and to be aware of this, to stand up for the parents in our county who have the best interest of protecting their children at heart far more than the government does. Most adults don't even know all that informed consent entails. And yet we are to expect our 12-year-olds to be able to make such discernments. This bill is extreme, unnecessary, and completely missing the mark on how to best protect and help our teens right now. I would urge you, please personally contact your assembly member, tell them that you oppose SB 866, and urge them to vote no on behalf of the children in our county. I'm going to leave this report for each of you just to hammer home the point of how far off the mark our state handled these last 2 years. It's a final report on the state's pandemic response policies by the National Bureau of Economic Research, and it ranks and grades each state in the categories of economy, performance, education, and mortality. I was not shocked to see that we ranked 50th out of all states for our cumulative in-person learning. My boys were forced home for an entire year, so it was no surprise there. But with the constant touting of our governor of how well our state has done compared to others because of our heavy-handed lockdowns, our curfews, our mask mandates, our vaccination mandates, I was pretty shocked to see that California received an F on their state report card for overall unemployment, GDP, economy average, percentage of in-person schooling, COVID deaths, all-cause deaths, and mortality average. An F. Our state received an F. Again, please reflect on how our public health and governor's policies and mandates had a direct negative impact and caused so much unintentional harm on our children. And our governor's not letting up. He's sitting by and letting counties actively terminate teachers, firefighters, and other essential employees over their vaccination status. Yesterday alone, Los Angeles Unified School District revoked previously held religious exemptions and gave notice of impending terminations at the end of this school year for 2,000 unvaccinated teachers. That's happening right now. Please know what's going on in our state. I'm almost done. Please continue to stand up for our children and help us get them back to living healthy, purposeful lives that are supported by our community's values. Our strong families, our individual liberties, the ability to pursue happiness and success, our religious freedoms, our love for our neighbors, and our commitment to our children. That is what Stanislaus County is all about. Please continue to uphold our community in such an important way. Thanks.
Thanks, Joni. Okay. Next up, I have Louisa Bryant. Louisa, good evening. How are you?
Thank you. Forgive me. Medical.
That's okay.
breathing problem, but I'll get.
You want to grab that mic?
Pull that mic right down by you. Grab
Okay.
that right close to you.
Okay, and I'll go through the presentation. My very first sentence, request from you, Patty, I don't know, magic, put me in touch with the person that I was going to ask you to refer me to the environmental. So I got to read my presentation. the way
Okay,
it
that's
is.
okay, but grab that mic, Louisa. Keep that mic by your mouth while you're reading.
Gentlemen of the panel, I am here tonight to ask for the board's help and to respectfully request a referral to the Stanislaus County Code Enforcement Office, who I believe may have the authority to revoke a mold inspection report from a company hired by the owners of my apartment. After the owners received instructions from the city of Modesto, I allege and can show this report to be, and I quote, a knowing misrepresentation of the truth and a concealment of material facts. If the members will inspect and examine the 2 pages titled Summary of Sample Analysis Results, you will find the surface sample summary is only 1 sentence, which reads, and I quote, the surface sample results of 1 did not indicate mold growth on the surfaces sampled at the time of the sampling. 1 sentence analysis. Again, to add insult to injury, the following paragraph reads, please see the sections titled Detailed Results of the Surface Sample Analysis, and which would be a detailed of the 1 sentence. The other two sentences in that as mold growth not located, my address, mold growth, no mold growth, and dominant type, none. Okay, the second page, if you look at it, if you have time, is titled Detailed Results of Surface Sampling Analysis. This is, it lists in this manner, location, my address, lab ID number, sample type, mold growth present, no growth found, list of special molds. They chose 10 out of the blue for nothing. Not absolutely no identification of any spores count or any information whatsoever. The following is miscellaneous spore present, very few, and background debris, very heavy, which was a cement layer between the wall and the roof. Other comments, none. This was the end of the inspection and analysis. That's all that was done, and the city has accepted this. But anyway, now if the members would please inspect the 12 pages of the property information and the thorough analysis report by the reputable company hired by the tenant, me. It should be obvious that my request for the revocation of the owner's report shows that it's considered as, please consider it as a judicious appeal by the tenant. Landlords are legally required to give tenants written disclosure when they know there is mold in a rental unit under California law. Both parties must sign these documents, keeping in mind that this request only applies, quote, when there is a significant amount of mold in the unit, and you can, you don't have the pictures, I'm sorry. The amount of mold in the unit is unsafe, and it jeopardizes the tenant's health. Also be aware that the verbal warning regarding the presence of mold in a rental unit is not adequate. The landlord must put this information in writing. Furthermore, I am entitled to a written disclosure if the landlord has reason to believe mold may be present, whether it is obvious or not. The copy of the case details from the city of Modesto in the case number and dated February 14th, 2022, should confirm this tenant's one of many notifications of mold to the owners. Then you can please see 8-page contact list and pictures showing the mold and rotted wood. Importantly, and in addition, management's refusal to sign these necessary documents at last Thursday's meeting and their insistence that the city has stated there was no mold. This even as management was reading and examining the 12 pages of my mold report analysis, which I had provided for them. That reported extremely elevated levels of fungal spores. And because of my request for signatures, the managers reneged on their offer to relocate me until they spoke with the owners. Research shows that, and I quote, the issue with mold, allergies, or poisoning is that until recently, doctors and other medical professionals would tell their patients their symptoms were all in their head because they could not pinpoint the cause. However, as more studies show, this effects of mold are very real and life-threatening to some individuals who are more susceptible to allergies and the elderly. I have the allergies, and I will turn 86 on Sunday. The mycotoxin research is still in its infancy, and the testing is not well. May I finish the last paragraph?
Go
That's
ahead.
all it is.
Okay.
Tenant is in precarious health. I have been referred to 5 specialists in just the last 3 months and have had numerous testings for the symptoms the specialist can identify. A patient's belief that she has been expressed to mold is not enough for a doctor to diagnose mold exposure, and management's insistence that there is no mold does not help. In the picture, you saw the, again, you didn't see the pictures. That is this, the 8-page chronological list of telephones and one-on-one contacts copied directly from my journal. I have to keep one that I have provided for the panel. I didn't. are contacts with the city. There are no medical or the numerous agencies I have been in contact with. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know how I ended like that. Please help me. I think the gentleman from the code.
Right, Louisa, he is waiting for you. Rob Koslevi is waiting in the back there. We think this might be a city issue, but he's going to help you navigate this.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
And get you through this. So we appreciate you coming down here and reading that and letting us know. I know it was an effort for you.
Well, it's just, yeah.
And we were going to do what we can to try to help you. Rob is back there waiting for you right now.
God bless him. I'm sorry. Like I said, I wanted, this is because I cannot talk. I can't.
No, you did great.
The city
Very good.
Will not say, has repeated, it's no mold. And
No, we're going to help you.
God
So
bless him.
Rob-
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I took your time.
No, you did perfect.
It was a very interesting evening for the other elderly people.
Thank you for being here. Okay, thank you, Louisa. And Rob is right back there waiting for you. Thank you. Okay, all right, very good. Okay, anybody else? That's all that I have speaker cards for. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak that hasn't filled out a card? Okay, seeing none, we are going to move on to our consent calendar. And I think we have, we're going to pull item 6C2. Is there any other item, any other that would like to be pulled? Anybody else have one? Okay, do you want to just address 6C2 really quick before we go on to the rest?
Sure,
Buck,
thank
do
you,
want-
Mr. Chairman. The reason I pulled it is, one, I have no opposition to what's on the consent calendar. I just was looking for an update on the other properties that, a couple meetings ago that was brought to attention, just to see where we're at.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, Chair and Board of Supervisors, CEO Hayes, County Council Bowes. Just thought we'd run through this real quick. We have a total of 59 total properties acquired for NCC. We have agreements with 13 of them. We have possession of 5. 2 of the property owners are close to signing. Of the 4 parcels that this board approved Ron's on, 1 parcel is close to signing, which is pretty exciting for us. The other 3 parcels, we remain active and reaching out to them. We've been sending them correspondence, certified mail, regular letters, and calling them. We strive to provide the concierge service that this board's asked us to do. We're doing as much as we can to guide these citizens through this process. And so we'll continue to outreach to these property owners, and I'm available for questions.
Are you receiving any response whatsoever from, or is that something?
2 of them, not so much, no. So
Okay.
but we'll continue.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions for Dave? Thank you, Dave, and good. Thanks, Buck, for raising that, because I know we were very concerned with the individuals that came up here and spoke to us a month or so ago, and we appreciate the efforts, and it sounds like we're going to continue to work for them, so very good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. Any other items that need to be pulled? Okay, if there are none, anybody in the audience want to pull any item from consent? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now, with regard to the items too late for the agenda.
Thank you very much, Chairman Withrow, members of the board. This is one of those rare instances in which we had an item come to our attention after the board agenda was already posted, but does require your prompt consideration. So we are adding it for you to consider an item too late for the agenda. This is a 2-stepped process. The first step in the process is for us to request your authority and approval to add this item as too late for the agenda. And after you've voted on that and added it, we will then present the item for your consideration and approval, or hopeful approval. The circumstances that led to adding this item too late for the agenda was that on May 13th, which was Friday, we became aware of a need to do a policy amendment for our management benefits program. The program was silent in a very, very important and specific way that related to how to deal with employee benefits, payroll matters when an individual may be deemed as incapacitated. And that the matters at hand did have time restrictions that would require some action to take place during their period of incapacitation. So we went ahead and implemented under my existing authority as CEO and a policy as of Friday, May 13th, recognizing that that policy would ultimately come before this board for ratification that would be retroactive back to that May 13th date. So the request before you right now is the first step in this process is that pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2B2, please find that there is a need to take immediate action to ratify the Chief Executive Officer's actions establishing an incapacitation designation personnel policy for purposes of personnel administration. 2, the need for action came to the attention of the county on Friday, May 13th, 2022, after the board agenda was already prepared to be posted. And 3, approve adding an item too late for agenda and place the item on this agenda titled Ratify the Chief Executive Officer's Actions Establishing an Incapacitation Designation Personnel Policy for purposes of personnel administration. Those are the 3 staff recommendations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the first step of the process.
Very good. Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Anybody from the audience? Questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back and I'll look for a motion with regard to item too late for the agenda, agenda item A, with regard to staff recommendations.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Very good. Thank you. And now we'll move on to item too late for agenda, agenda item B.
Thank you very much. And so once again, I would like to just describe the specific recommendation that's coming before the board, and that is to ratify the Chief Executive Officer's actions establishing an incapacitation designation personnel policy for purposes of personnel administration. I believe each of you should have a copy of the agenda item, which includes a copy of the policy that was prepared on Friday. Once again, not to be too repetitive, I would like to acknowledge that it was just this last Friday, after this item or after this agenda was prepared for the board, that it came to our attention that we needed to consider this policy in order to make timely or in order to allow certain members of the county workforce to make timely decisions that would have immediate and significant impacts to their payroll and benefits. So the policy as established here increases the efficiency of our program, but it essentially facilitates the abilities of families, specifically individuals who are named as beneficiaries, to carry out the wishes of any of their family members who may be mentally incapacitated and land in the category of management exempt employees. And this would pertain to matters related to ministerial administration of their county employment, and that may include things such as payroll and benefit decision making. And once again, it only pertains in very narrow circumstances and does require medical certification to be provided in order to complete the policy request. So I'm going to pause there and see if you have any questions related to the actions and the policy before you.
Very good. Any questions for Jody regarding this item from the board? Seeing anybody from the audience, any questions? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board and look for a motion.
I move to approve the item. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we will move on to, I think we will adjourn the meeting of the Board of Supervisors and then reopen this as the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority. I call that meeting to order, and we will go to our consent calendar. And anybody like to pull anything from the consent calendar there? Seeing none. Anybody from the audience want to pull anything? Seeing none, we will bring it back to the board and look for a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Very good. Public forum, anything, any public comments with regard to the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority? Seeing none, we will adjourn the meeting as the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority and bring us back. This is great. I get to hit this so many times. We'll bring it back to the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors, and we'll move to our public hearings, and our first one here only one for today, is our public hearing to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance to establish new fees for the sheriff's office related to the local emergency medical services agency. Oh, I'm sorry, Manny, go ahead. Sorry, Tom.
Supervisor Graywall has Supervisor Graywall has a conflicting, has a conflict with this item. He sits on a board of one of the hospitals and therefore needs to recuse himself.
Do I have to come back after the meeting? Or after this item?
Yes.
I hope so. Thanks. Okay. So for the record, we'll just let the record show that Supervisor Graywall is leaving the dais for this item. Okay. And we'll move on to our presentation from Richard and Jewel. Good evening, guys. How are you? Good.
Director of EMS for Stanislaus County Fire Warden, and Assistant Director of OES. And I have with me Jewel Ward, Deputy Executive Officer, Chief of the Chief Executive Office. So good morning, Mr. Chair, and members of the board, CEO Hayes, and County Council, Mr. Bose. Good to see you this evening. I said morning, I think. Sorry.
That's right.
It's been a long day.
That's okay.
So we'll go ahead and get, there we go. So as of February 1st, 2022, at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved a resolution to establish the EMS agency division within the Sheriff's Emergency Services Division to administer EMS agency functions for the Stanislaus County local EMS agency as a single county LEMSA. Also authorize the auditor controller to create an interest-bearing fund for the new EMS division. The preliminary budget for fiscal year 22-23 had a primary source of revenue from fees that were established through ordinance, as well as fees from the providers in an amount of about $963,000 and some change. This was based on the existing Mountain Valley EMS agency fee schedule. The hospital fees have not been adjusted for several years, which we will talk about in just a moment. California Health and Safety Code and California Code of Regulations establish fees to support administration and oversight of a local EMS agency. We are allowed to have fees that are at reasonable cost to monitor the LEMSA providers and ensure that we have compliance with the state law in California. As you can see on the left, we have the established fees from the Mountain Valley EMS Agency Joint Powers Authority, the fee category, certification, accreditation, provider application fees, the annual fees, and the training program application, and then various forms of revenue, or fees, I should say. And then on the right, you can see the last time these fees were updated. So you can see that the most recent time period was for the training program applications, which was around 2019. And so the fees that we're going to talk specifically about today have to do with the specialty care centers, which trauma centers level 1 and 2 and STEMI and stroke centers, and the level 1 and level 2 fees have not been adjusted since 2013. The process that we used to establish the Stanislaus County EMS agency fee schedule, there were 6 steps that we took. The first was staff reviewed the Health and Safety Code and California Code of Regulations. We performed a fee survey from like-size single county local EMS agencies. We analyzed the staff time that's allocated to meet the state requirements with regards to managing a local EMS agency. We had meetings with specialty center, care center management and coordinators. We briefed each of the Board of Supervisors, and then we've had ongoing meetings with the CEOs from each of the hospitals within Stanislaus County. The proposed fee schedule for most of these fees, we will remain consistent with current Mountain Valley EMS agency fee structure with a 12% increase. The increase is based on cost of living increases that began back in 2019. Many of those fees have not been increased since that time period, and those that are being increased are reflective of staff time that's dedicated to enhancing services within the EMS system that's in Stanislaus County. The largest increases, as I mentioned earlier, are associated with the hospital specialty centers. So we'll begin with trauma centers, and as we have mentioned in the time past, one of the responsibilities and functionalities of a local EMS agency is to designate specialty care centers and to provide oversight and monitoring of those centers. One of our largest centers is a level 2 trauma center within, I should say 2 level 2 trauma centers within Stanislaus County. There are fees that have been associated with those trauma centers. The current fees are approximately $100,000 per year. Those, again, were established back in 2013. The proposed would be an increase of $78,486 for level 2, which would be $178,486. We do not have a level 1 at this time, but we do have a hospital that is actively pursuing the level 1 activation. And so that fee would be, the proposed fee that's listed there would go into place once that hospital has been designated as a level 1 trauma center. Stroke receiving facilities, we have 3 currently in Stanislaus County. We have 2 that are primary stroke centers, and we have 1 that's a comprehensive stroke center. The current fees under the JPA Mountain Valley EMS Agency is $25,000 per year. We're looking at an increase for the primary stroke centers, the 2, of about $39,303 to make it a proposed $64,303. The comprehensive stroke center annual fee would be an increase of about $41,786 to a proposed fee of about $66,786. The ST elevated myocardial infarction, also known as STEMI centers, these are the centers that reperfuse a blocked artery in the heart. We currently have 3 STEMI receiving centers within Stanislaus County. The current annual fee is $32,000. We're looking at an increase of about $16,514, which would make a proposed fee of $48,514.
So staff recognize that the establishment of the new fee structure and the timing of implementation will affect local hospitals with unanticipated financial impacts to their fiscal year 22-23 budgets. Staff have had several discussions, as Richard noted, with local hospital executives and members of the Hospital Council of Northern and Central California to better understand the extent of these impacts and recommend the use of Stanislaus County EMS, or Emergency Medical Services System Enhancement Funds, to provide a 1-year subsidy to the increased costs from specialty center fees in fiscal year 22-23. The EMS System Enhancement Fund was originally established by the Board of Supervisors and adopted by the MVEMSA JPA as a result of fines assessed and collected from the Stanislaus County ambulance providers for contractual noncompliance. These funds are set aside for the improvement and enhancement of the emergency medical system in Stanislaus County, including the provision of equipment, training, and supplies. On February 1st, 2022, the Board of Supervisors approved the amended Stanislaus County EMS System Enhancement Fund policy to extend the use of these funds to support the establishment and creation of the Stanislaus Single County LIMSA, in addition to the pre-established authorized uses. The updated policy maintains the requirement for Board of Supervisors approval for any requested use of those funds. A 1-year subsidy is recommended to assist local hospitals with the implementation of specialty center fees, calculated at 50% of the variance between existing fees under the MVEMSA fee structure and those recommended here this evening would be applied to reduce specialty center fees in year 1 of operation under the new LIMSA model. No other fees would be subsidized. The calculation is based on the new fee structure and the anticipated mix of Stanislaus County specialty centers for fiscal year 22-23. Without the subsidy, the new fees would result in a combined overall increase to local hospital fees of $348,944. Implementation of a one-year 50% subsidy will reduce associated revenue by $174,472, which will be offset by EMS system enhancement funds to fully fund operations in year one. So as of April 8th, 2022, undesignated fund balance for the EMS system enhancement fund totaled $1.9 million. The LIMSA has not yet drawn down the $390,650 in funding authorized by the board on February 1st for startup costs. If the subsidy is approved, there will be approximately $1.4 million remaining in undesignated fund balance once authorized funds have been drawn down. Estimated fee revenue and the use of EMS system enhancement funds based on the recommendations presented this evening will be included in the Sheriff's 2022-2023 final budget request for the Emergency Medical Services Agency Division. There are two recommendations before you this evening. One is to conduct a public hearing to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance to establish new fees for the Sheriff's Office as they relate to single county emergency medical services. And two, authorize the use of $174,472 in Stanislaus County Emergency Medical Services System Enhancement Funds to subsidize specialty center impacts in fiscal year 22-23. And with that, Richard and I are available for questions.
Very good. Thank you guys very much. Any questions before we open the public hearing from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anybody from the audience like to make comments with regard to this? I will close the public hearing. This is the most I have ever used this gavel in a meeting. I'll bring it back to the board for any comments, questions, or a motion. Supervisor Chiesa.
Oh, actually,
Buck,
are you sure? We going? We on, Mike? Okay. When we embarked on this path that we're on now, we didn't expect it to go necessarily smoothly, and there's been a lot of hiccups along the way. I do think, though, that, again, we're headed in the right direction. The idea here was we need more oversight over ambulance service. We know that response times have been lacking, and our hospitals, which I consider our partners in all of this, certifications, trying to keep up on certifications, trying to move forward and provide what is a better service to the residents of Stanislaus County. It has been a tough haul, but in the end, we need to provide better value for our partners. And I know that was a concern of theirs. I know we're doing our part by subsidizing the rates for some time. And I know that they wrote a letter of support, but again, it's about providing value. What is the value that we're providing to the 550,000 residents, which really comes through the hospitals and the ambulance? And I think if we stay on it, I think just the oversight, we have the opportunity to do that. I also want to thank Supervisor Buck Condit, who has been on Mountain Valley EMS, and it's been a tough haul. Welcome to the board. Here's an issue. We want to try and make a change. And he's done a masterful job of trying to work through what I would consider landmines. And then to our partners that were in Mountain Valley, I know for many years we've tried to make sure that they had a path out. I think the county has really tried with Alpine, Calaveras, Amador, and Alpine. Mariposa. I'm sorry. I was going the wrong direction. And I want to wish them the best, because there was never any ill intent to leave them hanging out, because the capacity of the organization was through this county, but again, the mass volume of the organization was through this county. I think 90, Buck can probably tell me, but it's 90%-ish, or maybe a little more than that. So I want to be supporting this, again, but remembering in the back of our mind, not subsidizing it forever. Everyone's got to carry their weight, and then we have to provide the value.
Very good. Thanks, Vito. Buck.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Vito. It has been an interesting year on the JPA, even longer than that. But we are getting there. 90% of the workload, 84% of the population. There was definitely a need to where we needed to make critical changes locally to where we could turn on a dime, so to speak, to make sure that the services here locally were being handled correctly and in a timely fashion. I think we're well on our way in doing that. The JPA has been great to work with. However, we're almost at that point now that we're going to be on our own. I think it's great that we are working with the hospitals. It is a substantial increase in fees. So I also will be supporting the 50%.
Very good. Thanks, Buck. Anybody else? Any other comments? So I will support this too, and I want to acknowledge that the letters, we've received a couple letters from the hospital council, one a few weeks back and then one more recently after we had some time to sit and discuss some of this with them, and I want to acknowledge Buck too and all his efforts to get us through this. We all appreciate that, and we appreciate you taking this over on the board. And it's not easy, but like I said, we want to make sure that we were taking care of our partners like we've talked about. I think we've gotten through that. We've done everything we can to try to help as they move on to be on their own. And I know it hasn't been from lack of effort from us to try to work with them to help them. And I think this is just an example of this fee increase. As much as we hate to have to do the fees, our fees just cover our costs. As we always say, anytime we do a fee increase, it's about our cost, and we need to make sure we're not subsidizing entities or individuals. And so these fees are being raised, and it's probably an example of one of the reasons why just we need to have more of a decision-making, involved more in the final decision-making process of this LIMSA, because of these fees have gone on for so long without being raised, and there were costs that were just being incurred that we weren't getting reimbursed for. So I support that we'll do this for, since it was such a long time and it is a large increase in all at once, that I feel okay with us subsidizing at least for this 1 year half of that increase. And then from this point on, we will move forward. And I know we'll try to work with the hospitals to try to find efficiencies, as we say in here, try to find more efficiencies, maybe like we've talked about in our meetings, that potentially if there's duplication of efforts and there's stuff that we can use that they're doing, we look forward to being able to do that and maybe reduce some of our costs, and it could potentially affect the fees, but we'll look at that as we move forward. So I'm very much in support of this. So if there is no other comments, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you, Richard Jewell. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move on to our correspondence.
This board has received the claims and the correspondence noted on the agenda.
Acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Do we have any Board of Supervisor reports?
I'm just going to report out on one thing, and then hopefully you're going to talk about the meetings out in the community. So yesterday, we had a SB 54 community meeting at Westside Ministries, and the Sheriff Jeff Dirksey presented on what he does to the Board of Supervisors. I know he's had a couple over in South Modesto, and then we did this down at Westside Ministries. There were about 10 people, 10 community members showed up. It's always, trying to get people to get engaged on something, but most of the topic, then after he presented the SB 54 statistics, we went on to just a community meeting and policing. And I was proud, Jason Hedden, who's the new police chief in Turlock, was a guest, and they just had a great community conversation. And we always talk about building trust between law enforcement and the community. Jolyn DeGrassi, who's in charge of Westside Ministries, someday she's going to win the senior award because of all the good she's doing in the community. There were like 100 kids there playing after school. It's just pretty amazing stuff. But I thought the meeting went well, but again, we have to continue to push to get engagement. It's always difficult, the most difficult part about it. I just want to report out on that.
Very good. Thanks, Vito. And if there's no others, I'll just talk really quick about our road show that we've been doing as a board. We have been out trying to determine where would best spend the $50 million that the board decided that they wanted to allocate and spend in our unincorporated areas, our county pockets, and we decided to get out of the chambers and go out and actually see each one of these areas that each of us has picked two areas in their own district which we thought were most in need of these funds. And so we've gone out, and I think we've actually seen 7 of them. I think we have 3 more. I think we have 1 more of Chance's and 2 and Vito's 2. But we've gone out over a couple days, and so we have 3 more to go. And what we're doing is all trying to see each other's areas, each other's spots that we think are most in need, and then we'll come back, and I keep saying this, that we will arm wrestle over where to allocate these funds and prioritize them based on kind of what we saw out there. So we'll see how that goes. And then just to mention one positive thing with regard to one of them in my area, we started off with the second one that we hit was in my area. The first 2 were in mine, and I intentionally had it right by a house that has just been a nightmare, drug-infested, squatter-infested spot that's been going on for over a year, and the neighbors in that area, it's off of Robertson Road, have been very tolerant as we've tried to go through all the process to make it happen. And I can tell you that as of Monday morning, and I want to thank Rob for that, and Lane Avila also for that, and everybody who was involved. We had our care team out there to try to help the individuals that we were getting off of this property. But as of Monday, we brought in the bulldozer and tore down the house that was burned down and just full of unbelievable, and cleaned the entire lot off and offered services for the individuals that needed them, if they would take the services. And the neighbors were who were there, I know one of them was practically in tears. He'd lived there for 70 years and had to deal with this, and it was such a relief for him. So I thank my fellow supervisors, everybody, for being a part of this, and staff, everybody who did such a great job to make that happen. And the hope is that at some point we'll end up with possibly something from the Housing Authority. We'll get either a modular on there or something, some sort of livable unit there on that lot. And then once they do, then they will maintain that for life. That's what the Housing Authority does. So then it will be maintained from that point forward. So anyway, good things coming out of that.
Can I also just tag on to that, because I know this was your idea to go out and visit these sites, and most of the sites I have seen where we've stopped, I had been there. And here's the apology again. I always mea culpa. I like to always acknowledge when I'm wrong. And you had told me about this house and how devastating it was for the community. And until you get out there, and it's very hard because we're representing a district. So we're well served to represent our district, spend time in our district. And this has taken us out of our comfort zone, right? And sent us to places I didn't know there was a county island in North Modesto until yesterday. I'm 58 years old, and I didn't know it until yesterday. That house, the action comes out of it because we were able to see what you've been trying to tell us, but it's very hard to take that next step because everyone thinks they have issues that are overriding. So anyways, I appreciate you deciding, or making us go out and see other areas, and I think some really good things are going to happen out of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's going to be great for all of us. So, okay, that's my report, and then I'm going to move on now to Legislative, Fiscal, and Management Report. Chief Executive Officer Jody Hayes.
Just a quick update for you. First, I wanted to just let you know that we are planning for an update on COVID-19 at our board meeting on June 14th. So I just wanted you to be aware we had committed to coming back about on a quarterly basis to keep you informed as to events going on there. I know that there's been increasing news reports of an uptick in cases, and so I would invite you or any members of the public to please check out the Health Services Agency's website, updated website related to COVID-19. They've done a great job of making sure that all of the data links and information on all of the latest news is available right there, and you can get a real sense of what's going on in the community and what the trends are. But we'll be here on June 14th presenting just our quarterly update for the board and for the public. I also wanted to acknowledge that the big legislative consideration this week was the state budget and the May revision from the governor, and I think the biggest news item coming out of the May revise was a projected surplus of $97.5 billion in the state's budget. That's pretty unprecedented. And just by process, a large portion, about half of that, goes to schools and budget reserves. I can't speak to how that impacts local schools, but good to see that a fair share amount of funding would go to support schools statewide at least. There was about $49 billion in discretionary spending available for the governor to recommend, and almost all of it was put in the place of one-time recommendations, which is very wise considering that there's such a large portion of the budget at the state level that is built off of capital gains, sales taxes that only apply to a very small portion of residents here in California and can change very, very quickly. There's actually, immediately upon the release of this, there were many news articles considering the potential for budget reductions a year from now, just based on what they call a fiscal cliff that can happen with the state budget the way it's designed. Those things occur on cycles related to the economy, and certainly many are predicting that we're due for a cycle here, especially as the economy struggles in early 2022. I would like to say that in reviewing the state budget, we don't see any negatives for the counties, although we are tracking closely what the governor may want to do with the care court proposal. There was some money allocated to care court, the care court model, but that money was not allocated to counties. But the governor did signal that he's willing to continue to talk about impacts to counties, and we continue to support those conversations at the state level. And then the last thing I want to do is just acknowledge that the governor did set aside $5 million in the budget to establish the first new state park in California in the last 13 years, and it's right here in Stanislaus County, what would be the Dos Rios State Park. It's at the conflux of the Tuolumne and San Joaquin Rivers. Very exciting project and a new benefit, not just for our community, but for the broader valley and so forth. So that was nice to see here in our community. And that concludes my report.
Very good. Thanks, Jody. Okay, I want to thank Joni for hanging around for us for the whole meeting. Thank you, Joni Creek, for being here. I want to thank our Deputy Danny Mejia for being here today for us. And if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.